My name is Charles Edward Presley Jr. A lot of people call me Chuck.Presley. I'm the Eastern District County Supervisor representing Bluefield and Springville, little parts of Tazewell and some of Falls Mills. And I'm here today to give everybody insight on the budget because when I spent those multiple terms in Bluefield, Virginia, I had no idea what I was getting into when I got this. And I'm glad I did because now I understand the pressures that we get not only locally, but from the state. I'm here today to make sure you guys are well informed, and this is a rolling thing. These numbers change. This whole process changed. Every year is different. So 2025, we'll see what comes next, but I'm ready to help and make this the ship go faster and better than it is. So the first part of this I want to get into is that the Tazewell County budget is a big budget that involves a lot of players. There goes the PSA, there goes the landfill, there goes the fire, and there goes the sheriff department. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this that changes yearly, and people need to know the pressures we have because when I got on here, you get this order. Oh, you have to wait for DEQ. You have to wait for these people to do all this stuff. And then by the time you do it, the price has gone up. So I want to go over the county budget and go over things to help you guys understand what we're doing. So the biggest part of one of the problems we have is inflation. I know everybody hears inflation. They want to blame this. And they say, oh, politicians go to this, but inflation's a big issue. One of the biggest problems with inflation is the state mandatory minimums we get. A lot of people didn't understand that when the state says pay the school board this amount, you have to pay them this amount. So our biggest source of income in the county is real taxation on property. And the prices have not changed between reassessments between 2018 to 2024. When I came into office, I did not understand that reassessments were coming, and everybody was up in arms about it. But there's going to be some explanation here to show you why the numbers were big and all that stuff was happening. So I'd like to get you guys to understand what I'm seeing so I can tell you guys. So maybe if you have good ideas, I want you guys to know. Call me, let me know, email me, text me, whatever you do, come to a meeting. Please tell us what we need to know. So the county, when I came to, was a huge shortfall. And we had a few choices. We could use our reserves, we could raise taxes, or use ARPA funds to level out the budget. So what the county did was use ARPA funds. So the ARPA funds were used because the county knew they had one thing going for them. Reassessments were going to hit in 2024. So they knew the difference would maybe cover the difference of the deficit that the county had in the previous year. So the general reassessment in April was about $3.1 million. What we needed was $3.2 million. So reassessments caused a huge increases in the values of people's homes by 28% on the home residential values. But the crazy thing was that commercial property only went up by 1%. So you're sitting here like, how did this happen? So the burden, when it came to this, shifted from the businesses to your residents. And you're going to see later in this slide how we do tax our businesses more too, and another slide that you'll see down the road. So I want everybody to understand what is going on with this budget from this point on. So we adopted a tax rate of 58 cents. We kept it the same thing. You'll see where we cut the personal property rates in June. There's more on that as we get into the slide. We did not have to dig into reserves. You will see why later in this slideshow how the state added another $800,000 unexpectedly to our budget that we had to pay. So when you're looking at this, you will see there is a total deficit of $5.9 million. And then the original shortfall expected was $4.1. Added with the school board of $0.8 million and the planned tax cut of $1 million, you see where we came up with that $5.9 million deficit. So let's get to the factors that are driving the numbers. First, we have inflation. So general inflation has increased by 50% since 2018. Electricity by 20%, and HVAC and stuff like that, and items are about 50%. New sheriff vehicles are up 30%, and so all of us are in the same boat when it comes to this. We cannot hide from this. So if you look at the chart from this one, from 2014 to 2023, you can see the general inflation in America has gone up 27%. So since 2013, if you look at the American Consumer Price Index, the CPI has risen 32%, and the average real estate assessment increased in 22% in 2023. So the second thing driving the factors are mandatory minimums that we cannot control from the state. Some of this includes schools, sheriffs, clerk of the court, Commonwealth attorney, DSS. Not only do we have to fund salaries, we have to fund retirements and stuff like that too, and insurance as well. So the mandatory minimums, when you look, for example, in 2022 to 2023, teachers' pay increased by 12%. Sheriff has increased by 30%. This includes 911 as well. So this added $2.2 million in new expenditures that we had to come up for to fix the budget. So when you look at the school budget, if you look at the charts, for in the past few years, past 5 years, the school budget has went up over $4 million from the mandatory minimums that we have to pay that the state requires us. This year, when I came into the Board of Supervisors, they said we'd probably be around $15.3 million. And then when I was talking earlier about another $800,000, you see where that comes to the budget. The state says, no, you owe $800,000 more. You have to give to schools for the required minimum from the state. So when it comes to DSS, you will see the numbers on this chart were going down because the required money that we had to pay went down because of COVID era expenses. They reimbursed us. For the next upcoming year, that price will probably go up. So we don't know that number yet, but we have to wait till probably around budget season to May to June to see what those real numbers are going to be. So one thing I'd like to talk about too, I had no idea, was the regional jail. So when we got our bill this year, our bill was different and it was lower because Bristol joined the regional jail authority with us. So anytime you have more inmates in your system, the cost for you goes down. But there comes a cost with that too. Since they have their jail, we're in the jail system with a bunch of other people, we have to burden the cost of repairs to the jail and stuff like that as well. So right now our inmate costs went down $300,000 from last year. Now, if somebody comes out of that, that means less prisoners overall in the system, the more we'll have to pay. We went into the regional jail system because we can only hold so many inmates, and we're doubling up in Tazewell County. So to make it financially sense, we went into the regional jail system, and this has been a good thing for us, but it also costs us money as well. Another thing is some of the projects with halfway houses, if we can put inmates in the halfway houses around the region, around the state, that will also lower our costs from the county for the regional jail system. So when it comes to the reassessment, for the last 3 times, we've had a company called Wingate do it. They are out of Roanoke. So required by state law, we have to do reassessments every 6 years. The thing that we can do is do it more often, but there's a cost to it. Every time we get a reassessment, it costs the county $900,000. So I have came up with some ideas to maybe do it more frequently, because you can battle that inflation that happens or the deflation that happens and adjust your budget more accordingly. The problem that you saw earlier is that you wait 6 years in between and inflation goes out the roof. The people that are personal property owners are going to feel that cost too when it happens. But if the prices go down, they're going to have less of a tax burden as well. So there'll be smarter ways to do it, but we have to look at our budget and see if we can actually do this more often. So other factors that are driving the numbers are the agencies, programs, and utilities. The first one I want to talk about is the PSA. In the 1990s and 2000s, the PSA borrowed millions of dollars to build new lines. So now they owe $34 million, and the biggest problem with that is they don't have enough people to cover the debt. So now the new lines are getting old. They are borrowing again to replace those lines. Decreasing population, fewer people mean less revenue for the department. We were given about $1.2 million to pay their debt. Other than Abden, we have the highest PSA rates in Southwest Virginia. So the PSA relies heavily on the Tazewell and the Richlands area. They have 2 major upgrades coming. They're going to be about $12 million each per upgrade per plant, because they own percentages of them. It's not like in the town of Bluefield, Virginia, we own our own water plant, and we have the sanitary in Bluefield, West Virginia. These guys depend on the PSA. So this is going to add $4 to $6 more million to the debt. But the thing about it is the Board of Supervisors have to sign off on this debt for this to happen. So you have to make these decisions, make sure they're benefiting everybody, but we do have to allocate tax dollars to these projects. Other factors that are driving the budget are things, the departments we have, like with the EMS. When we're talking about the ambulatory services, in 2021, our guys were not getting paid the rates. And the state of Virginia has raised the rates. So we had to retain people, we had to pay more. That added money to the budget. So when you do that, these guys, they deserve tons of money more. But the other problem you had there too is when the Affordable Care Act came in place, the reimbursements for Medicare and Medicaid are not covering a lot of these calls. So how the billing works, some of these people don't ever pay their bills, so that burden comes back on all the taxpayers in Tazewell County. So to alleviate this, I would like to see, since I've been put on the Emergency Service Committee, that we have more proactive programs that have bigger pay and better benefits for everybody. But we have to work on this together with the county and the county budget to make this happen. People that we pay in the county for the EMS services is Richlands. We pay Richlands $200,000 a year to cover the Western and Northwestern District. Tazewell, we pay $100K per year to cover the Southern District. And Bluefield, the county covers the EMS for Bluefield. But $450,000 of the budget year goes towards the EMS in the Northern District and Eastern District, which cover Bluefield. But the most cover, the cost of that goes towards the Northern District. So the next thing I want to talk about is your fire services. And the fire services are dear to me because being on the EMS committee, I have noticed that there is, when it comes to volunteer fire departments, they're just not firefighters. They're VDOT workers. They do a lot of stuff. When people need help, when someone needs their car unlocked, they call these guys. So the biggest issue we have in Tazewell County is, one of the things is just age. A lot of these volunteer fire departments are over 70 years old. The average age is 50-some years old, depending on where you're at in the county. The biggest problem we have, too, we need to make sure we cross-train these guys a lot better because some people do this and they do that. Our guys are awesome in Tazewell County. I want to make sure we can provide them better equipment and better stuff. So we're actually working on centralizing this, everybody keeping their identity in this county can get some more federal funding for these firefighters. So I want to go into some costs of what the county pays out to show you right here in this what we pay. So we pay Richlands $100,000 a year to cover the Northwestern District. At Tazewell, the county covers the Southern District and pays the town nothing. And Bluefield, the county does not pay Bluefield for fire, but Bluefield, Virginia also helps cover the Eastern and the Northern District. The county buys equipment and gear for all the volunteer fire departments in Tazewell County. So it's crucial that we work more money into our budget to help these guys out down the future. So another department that's dear to my heart is the Sheriff Department. Brian Height does an excellent job with his men covering this county from head to toe. They will do anything. One of the biggest issues we have in this county is our county is so big. Our Sheriff Department budget is about $4.8 million a year, and we have to come ways in our budget to help these guys out. Here recently, we gave an increase to them to buy more cars on a more frequent basis. I like to see that increase because these guys don't need to be driving around with vehicles for 200,000 miles. They need more stuff. So in the budget, you will see in how we do stuff that we need to give more to our emergency services when it comes to fire and sheriff and everything. So I do believe with all my heart that our sheriff department is one of the best sheriff departments in the country. So with that being said, the $4.8 million that it costs us will go up over time. So we had an issue this year that our sheriff had to go in the beginning of October up to Richmond. The state didn't put in the budget for the SROs. SROs are the school resource officers that you see the police officers in our schools. They were going to cut 4 out of our budget. That can cost us anywhere around $300,000 to $500,000 a year. Brian Height went up there and talked to Glenn Youngkin, and we hope that they will fund those SRRs for the next year. If they don't, we, the Tazewell County Board of Supervisors, will have to fund this, and we want to protect our kids that are our greatest asset. So another huge thing that is a pain to me is our landfill. So we're going to go deep dive into this. I'm going to tell you guys some of the stuff you might not know and you might know about it. So new construction for the year 2020 was delayed due to COVID. 2023 came and the cost never came down, and it was twice the budget amount. Field date for the current sale was September 2024, so we had to move on it. If you look at the chart and you see in 2022 that the price went down, we took out a loan to do the rest of construction for the new cell. So that's why that went down. But the cost overall keeps on going up every year because the landfill has things like you got to test for your leachate. You have to test for your gas coming out of it. And you just have to do basic maintenance to your ponds to keep, spillways open and stuff like that. So it's not one of those things you can throw the key away because if you do, according to our county administrator a few years ago, if you close the landfill now, you have to pay the $13 million bond to the state. So when the construction started in 2023 in July, we hit rock. So the county has some questions to ask. There's a thing called airspace. And the airspace is the amount of trash that can fit in a certain cell that when you go to the landfill, you see the cells built like a bowl. So what you do is you have a question to ask you. If you don't fix this in an amount of time, then you're going to have to divert your trash and it's going to cost your citizens more. Or you can sit here and wait for all the regulations and everything to hit. So what did the county do? We said, we don't have the time to wait around. We actually went through the rock that's in the ground. So the clay that they used had to be dried. Unfortunately, the winter of 2024 was too wet. We had to delay the new clay in the spring of 2024. In April, they hit a sinkhole. The DQ made us seal the sinkhole with concrete. This cost us around $270,000. We took this out of contingency. Even with this in the dry summer, the completion date was September. So the fill date of the cell was October of 2024. So we gave ourselves ample time to finish this project before the fill date was, so our airspace would be all right. So what happened? Hurricane Helene came in 10 days before we could finish. It ripped the liner out of the new cell, so we had a major problem. We couldn't just go redo the new cell. DEQ has to get involved. When you have to deal with the EPA and those pressures, you can't just do what you want or they'll shut you down. So what did we do? We may had a split cell developed, and we have it done here soon. And when you have the split cell, you can fill up while you're finished the other one. The problem that came with this is that caused a lot of money and damages. FEMA will reimburse us, but the county, it will take 2 years to get that money back. So we have to take that money out of contingency to pay those costs until we get reimbursed from the federal government. So the whole cost of the project is $5.7 million for the new cell. You can obviously see that the trash collection in Tazewell County is not a cheap venture. So what we do in Tazewell County, we take Bland and West trash. But since the timetable was getting close, we diverted our trash to Pulaski, but that comes with a cost. The reason why we diverted our trash is if we divert their trash, we can fill up our trash and not have the transport costs to the other landfill, which costs the citizens more money. But with that, there comes a cost. This is going to cost us $55,000 more a month because Pulaski costs more to put trash. That's why people come to us. So in the contract, the contractor, if does not meet the completion date, has to pay us $2,500 a day. This covers the transportation, but not cover the cost per ton of the trash. So that's where this number of $55,000 comes from. Another factor driving the budget is our IT department. So let's deep dive into this and I'll tell you what's going on. So the county provides IT services for the county administration, the courts, the Commonwealth Attorney, PSA. In 2014, the IT budget was cut for tax cuts, dental school project, and Bluestone, etc. So in 2018, the county was still running Windows 2007 operating system and using 2005 to 2010 software. Windows 7 would not migrate to Windows 11, so we had to go with the Windows 10 software. So the new hardware was going to cost $1 million, and we were going to cover that out of the ARPA funds over the next 5 years. The biggest problem we have that faces the finance department, the commissioner of revenue, and the treasurer is our IT part when it comes to the finance equipment. The hardware we use is the AS400. This was bought in 1983 and last updated in 1991. So you guys, go home and you get on your mouse. No, this is not this. This is keystrokes that you put in. In 3 to 5 years, this software is not going to be unusable by anybody in the county, so we have to move on it. So in 2018, the cost of just the software itself was $500,000. But with that, the transfer of the data was $800,000. I came on board and I told my county administrator, this has to be taken care of. We're going to have to find money, either getting a bond, getting a loan, or using reserves, because if you don't, I don't think anybody understands when you have to go into DOS mode, this is stuff that takes a long time to do. So we have to figure this out and get into the new age of equipment. So factors around the budget again. Some of the good news is we talked about before, the regional jail. I just want to thank Bristol for adding themselves to it because that helped lower our tax burden by $300,000 in Tazewell County. Thank you guys for taking some more prisoners to the system. But I know for next year, though, that probably will go up because things do change. So we have to watch out for that in the budget. One thing we talked about was the DSS and the social services. From 2021 to 2023, we saw a 7 to 10% increase in the budget from it. This year, we didn't see any increase of it because of what we talked about some of the stuff we got reimbursed on. So that saved us $300,000 burden that we thought we were going to have in the budget this year. So thank you, state. So every year we have a thing called a contingency. It's basically like a savings account that you have at home. So previously boards had 1.3 in contingency, but only used about 500. As you can see, when you looked at the county budget, and we were talking about the landfill just a few minutes ago, that we had to take $270,000 out. This happens quite a bunch. So when the original budget was looked at, we were going to take $800,000 out of contingency to keep that so we didn't have to use it. But with all these savings that came from the DSS and all this stuff, we put that money back. So we ended the year from the previous year, we're still with 1.3 in contingency. So this contingency is used for rainy day funds. We had to dredge out our ponds at the landfill here recently. That's going to be $50,000 here, $80,000 there. We have to do these repairs to some county roads. That's money here, money there. So the contingency comes in a good part to help out our people. When we just need money right then and right there, we can go to our contingency to allow our county administration to do what they need to do. So another thing that affects the budget in a positive way was the casino. The casino in Bristol is a 11 county share to the tax base. So 2/3 of the money that we get in from there goes to schools. One other third goes to fire. So what we did this year, we thought we were going to get $630,000. We actually got $680,000. When it comes to the cigarette tax, we got $500,000. But over a course of time, less and less people smoke. So you have to find that difference in the budget. But it shows you that casino is actually bringing revenue to people that we can put directly into our schools and to our fire services. Just like home properties and business values, Stuff in the ground is taxed as well, and that's called a minerals tax. Coronado coal is moving more into Tazewell County, so we're going to get more and more mineral tax of the coal that's being dug underground. So just this year, we added $300,000 more to our budget because of the more coal that was mined in Tazewell County. For the next future, they're predicting for the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to have more money coming on. So when that happens, we can use that stuff for if you want to build new schools, if you want to help out the sheriff, do more fire stations, anything we want to do that's fiscally responsible, we can use it with this coal severance that's going to come in. So some more good news about the budget is the PPTRA program that the state offers for personal property relief for people in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So in 1997, Governor Gilmore wanted to get rid of personal property tax. The only issue, this would have bankrupted a lot of smaller towns. The solution, in 1999, the state started to pay half of the local vehicle taxes by sending money to the treasurer. This year, we received $2.7 million. We are required to apply this to the first $20,000 of each vehicle. So as you know, the more valuable the vehicle, the more tax you're going to pay. So when we look at the personal property tax relief, the vehicle values on the left will show you, when on the next chart where it shows tax, what you would pay in tax for that vehicle at that, what the tax is valued for that vehicle. So when you look at the ratios, this explains. So you see the ratio with 90%, 80%, and 1 million. So if you cut the tax rate and only charge 90%, that would cost the county that $938,000. If you cut that tax rate by 80%, that costs the county $1.87 million. If you cut it, but if you added $1 million to the PPTRA, that only costs the county $1 million. But the proof is in the numbers. If you look over from the $11,200 and you look at the different ratios, you actually pay less money by us putting $1 million in the PPTRA than cutting the tax rate by 80% and costing the county another $800,000. So this is a huge win for our taxpayers. So look at this next chart called Major Grant Funded Projects. So when you're looking at this page, you can see that there's some projects that are funded by grants. We have the Springfield Fire Station that we're hoping to work on. We had some grant sources and hopefully we get it funded. We have the First Responder Telecommunications Grant for $3.4 million. The Safer Streets for All Grant, $500,000. Flood mitigation grants for $1.6 million. There is a meat processing plant that hopefully will be up here soon in the eastern/the northern district next to the landfill. That'll be huge for our local farmers to get their cows processed here, and then that will provide, as I've seen being a part of IDA, that there will be people here that can sell their meat locally instead of getting it from other places. So the major grants and stuff coming up is going to total $8.6 million. So this is a huge win for Tazewell County. So some more good news is something we talked about previously when we were talking about mineral taxes is the coal severance that we're going to start getting in Tazewell County. So let me explain. The county accesses a tax on coal and gas production. The amount of coal and the price determine the tax we get. By law, 1/4 of that goes to Virginia Coal Economic Development Authority. This is VCETA. They're a very good program, and they help out a lot of business in Tazewell County. And the other 1/4 goes towards local road improvements. In FY24, the county received $1.7 million total from this. So the county is predicted in the FY budget at 27 another $4 million of coal severance coming into our budget. That is huge for Tazewell County. There's a lot of things we can do for it. This is all because Coronado is moving into Tazewell County. We're predicting there might be a part where we get $8 million total here in the future in the next 5 years. On top of that, it may be even less. So you're looking at huge numbers that we have stuff. So we have some ideas. There's been some rumblings about we need to build some new schools, and that is a major factor. Richlands is in dire need with their middle school and their elementary school. Graham has the oldest school, and Tazewell schools are old as well. So we're looking at the things we can do. There has been a $13.5 million grant given to the school board for new construction. There is low interest rates by state programs to build these schools. So what we're going to do in the next few years is see how we can do this and mitigate this and work with the schools and work with the community to see, hey, let's spend this money on something that's useful. I don't want to get into the fact that, hey, we have a bunch of extra money, let's just blow it on stuff. No, that's not fiscally responsible. I want to see and learn from what the past has done and make sure we can use this money to benefit our citizens and our kids for a long time. So some more good news is tax relief for senior citizens. Any person over 65 can get a discount on real estate taxes on their personal residence. There's some criteria. 1, they must meet the income no less than $40,000 a year. Their assets, not including their homes, must be less than $100,000. and they must apply to Dave Anderson at Commissioner of Revenue's office each year before April 15th. So a lot of people come to me like, Chuck, yeah, I know you're new on here, but how did the county come up with $7.5 million all of a sudden a few years ago? I said, well, they did a smart thing. They went to twice a year billing. So I will explain to you how government bodies work and how people's bodies work when it comes to being taxed. So when you're a regular citizen like you and I, my tax year runs January 1st to December 31st. But when you're a municipal body, that runs from July 1st to June 30th a year. So the county has to do stuff. When they tax you money throughout the year from July 1st to June 30th, they use that money for the upcoming next tax year. So if we tax you in 2021, that money that you pay in December goes towards 2022 expenditures. So what the county did is they went to twice a year billing. So what happened? In 2021, the county went to a 2-year billing cycle, which the first half was collected in June. Except for collecting it just in December, that gave a huge bump of $7.5 million one time. So what did the county do? They put this into the reserves. So when you look at the present day, we have about $8 million in reserves. Davenport, which is a company that helps us with our financial service, that give us recommendation on things to do in our budget, wants us to have $10 million. And that is important because when you have certain thresholds, you can get bonds, you can get stuff like that. You can get different rates on things because you have so much in reserves. So one thing for food for thought. Buchanan County has $30 million in reserves, and Wythe County has about 50. These are numbers that were given to the county administrator. Right now, we're pushing at $8 million. But the reason we have less was simple. The tax rate was cut in 2012 to 2018. The county went from almost $14 million to $75,000 in reserves. This is why this is important to have this money. You need this for rainy day events like we've talked. We have this old finance equipment. We have all these problems. We have the landfill issues. We need to go ahead and make sure we have reserves in place just to get simple loans for PSA projects, things like that. So that's why that's important. So we're coming to the end of this presentation. I hope a lot of you guys are watching this and taking this in, just realizing that there's a lot to this county budget. There's a lot of factors going on to it. There's a lot of things that can happen and then will happen. And it's going to cost us money. So when July 1st happens, one thing is for certain. A lot of people think about the kids going back to school. Football season's coming here, vacation time, but the county administration goes to work. There's a lot of things that have to be done in this county, and it starts on July 1st and it ends on June 30th. So let me go into things what the county administration has to do. So one is they got to negotiate contract prices down. What this means is you have things from the previous year because supplies went up and down. You got to make sure this fits into your budget. So you're going to make sure you can do it this year and not push it down the road for a few years. There's a lot of things we want to do, but at the end of the day, it's money. So another two, you cancel projects are going to cost too much. That's what we just explained. There's some things we want to do with a landfill. I wish we could build this and do that. I wish we can get better leachate tanks. I wish we can get better drainage ponds, but it costs money. And you have other departments like sheriff, fire, schools that need stuff as well. And three, the county administration looks for alternative costs that might cost less. So we look for things, if we can buy this year, we might as well buy something else that's used. So we can ride that out longer until we have more money in our budget, like we're saying with the coal severance, things like that we know it's going to be there in the future. This overall gives us a better look at the budget. So we know what we're looking for, not even just next year, down the road, 2, 3, 4, 5, hopefully even 10 years, to see the projection of our county. Because one thing that's not helping us in this county is population loss. As you have seen in the presentation, the cost of goods and services that the county is required by the state keeps rising. This is moving faster than most people with our medium income can keep up with. For example, school costs, $16.1 million, sheriff, $4.8 million, PSA, $10 million, DSS, $1.5 million, jail, $2.5 million, VDH, $2.5 million, landfill, $4 million. This next slide here is very important and very dense, and I want you guys, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me or come to the meetings or talk to county administration. This is just a simple chart that shows you, if you look at the yellow line and the light green line, where our tax rate is. If you look at our tax rate, anything in the green can be cut to suffice that tax rate. But you don't want to cut these things. You want to cut stuff in your budget so you don't have to cut things like the Jonah Project, the IDA, the school funds, the sheriff funds, administration staff. So the county gets to this and they say, hey, these are some of the things. There might be 20 things on here, but there's hundreds of things that you can cut. This is just a guide to show you as a supervisor, these are the real consequences if you don't have enough money in reserves, if you don't have a good tax rate and you overspend, you'll have real consequences and you'll have to cut things that really mean stuff to people in this county and the functions of the county. So I just want to show you this. If you have any questions, reach out to me. But this is just a chart that shows you if you cut like the Springville Fire Station by 500 and the Cabots Creek, those both equal 550, and it shows you as you're going down what the real numbers are to make the budget work. So this next chart shows you the tax rates, and our friends at Scott County wanted to see a comparison, so this was sent to us. If you look at the darker chart right there that says Scott, Buchanan, Dixon, Wise, and all that stuff, you will see how we're comparable to the rest of Southwest Virginia. If you look at the tax and it says real estate, mobile homes, merchants capital, personal property, machinery and tool, this is what we tax comparable. So look, when you look at Tazewell County, our tax rate is 58 cents, but our county beside it is 74 cents on real estate values. If you look at Tazewell County at our 58 cents on mobile homes, you can say this stays concurrent, and Smith County beside it is 74 cents. If you look at this, a lot of people don't understand the merchants capital. Merchants capital, Tazewell County is $4.30. The counties around us are half or even 3/4 cheaper than we are. But what does this mean? Merchants capital is what we tax. You could look like a car lot, mining belt. It's things that are on the lot or inventory people own into the next tax year. So if Ramey's, for instance, has 5 million in cars and they don't sell those and they still have them on a lot to go into the first of the year, we tax that. That's where we get the merchants capital tax from. Same thing of a mining belt. If a mining company has a bunch of belt they still have on the property, we tax that. So that's where we get it. And you understand from this chart that we tax heavily merchants capital compared to other counties around us. So when you look at personal property, Tazewell County is at $2 for personal property, and we're staying, some counties are a little bit lower than us, but we all stay around the same value on personal property. So one thing is too, the last one is the machinery tools tax. And you see we're about across the board. We're a little bit higher than most counties, but we stay around we're at the $2 mark. So what that is, if you look at my friends at Lawrence Brothers, they have machines in there that cut, the laser machines that cut and stuff like that. When they have those in their premises, they get charged that machinery and tool tax because they have stuff that helps them make products. So at the end of the year, we charge Lawrence Brothers around $30,000 a year just because they have that equipment sit in their office to make the products that they sell. So merchants capital is stuff that you actually have in inventory, and machinery tools is stuff that you actually make stuff. So I want people to understand the two differences with that. If you look at this chart, top expenses yearly since 2018, you will see a huge difference of what the county has to pay out due to state mandatory minimums out of our budget. It is unfortunate that our median income has stayed the same, but the pressures from the states are going up. So as a representative, I want people to know there's a lot of things that we cannot control, as I showed you a minute ago, from the school board budget, DSS and stuff. I really want people to understand is, how do we fix this? It takes all of us to do it. I believe in good faith. All the information and everything I've given you is correct. I am trying my best just to get you to understand the county budget and the pressures we have. There's a lot more to this budget. There's all little things that were not in here. This is just a gist of what we do, and I want you to understand from there and ask me multitude of questions, because a lot of times I don't know the answers, but one thing I do, I like to ask people to get the answers, and I do that on a daily basis. And I know I drive the county administration crazy because I show up and they're like, it's Chuck again, but I'm trying to learn this stuff because a lot of people ask me stuff, and there's a lot of good people who want to know simple things. So anytime you have anything, holler at me. I'll be around. That's what I'll say. Thanks to everybody for watching it, and hi, Mom.